Alright, in this video we're going to go over how to turn on enhanced inventory receiving. This is not to be confused with the advanced inventory that comes with the Platinum subscription of QuickBooks Enterprise. This is enhanced inventory. It comes in all levels of QuickBooks Enterprise, all subscription levels. So we go up to File first and make sure that we're in single user mode, right? So because it says switch to multi-user mode, I know I'm already in single user. Then we go to Edit and Preferences. And we're going to go to Inventory, Items and Inventory, and click on Company Preferences. Okay. Now, huge disclaimer, do not turn this on if you have not done a backup. Okay, do not turn this on if you are planning. I would suggest taking a backup, installing QuickBooks offline in a non-live version, and going through the full effects of how this is going to affect your accounting. Okay, because it's very important for improving process, but it does make an extra step to reconcile on the back end. Okay, so you want to be very sure you're ready to turn it on, but it's a fantastic feature. Okay, so again, not to be confused with advanced inventory, which is here. We're talking about enhanced inventory receiving, which is down here. So we're going to go ahead and enable it here. Intuit gives you all the warnings, right? You can't turn it off, right? So if you turn it on, there is no reverse. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say continue. And then OK. All right, so QuickBooks is going to say it's going to close all its open windows. And now what it's doing behind the scenes, right, it's going to go through and verify all the data first. Basically what we're doing here is just checking to make sure that there aren't any issues with converting it over to being enhanced inventory. And what it's going to do when it converts it over is it takes all transactions that have items on them that are bills for all history and separates them, right? So it takes the bills and separates it to an item receipt and a bill. Okay, so two separate transactions is what it's going to be doing. Now there it's telling me that I have an error in my database, so it wants to go through a rebuild process before we do this. That can be common, right? So first we go through when we do a rebuild and we do a backup. Now when we do the backup, right, it's going to ask us where do we want to save the backup, so I'm just going to save it to my desktop for now. It's also going to ask us if we want to do verification, and I'm going to say no, because it just tried to verify the data and it didn't go through, right? Now normally when you do a backup, you always want to verify the data. However, it just tried, it failed, so I don't want it to verify the data when it goes through this backup right now. Okay. When it pops up this little box that says, are you sure you want to save it here? It's on the same computer. I'm just going to say use this location and say save. And finish. So it's backing up my data. And now it's going to go through and rebuild the data file. So rebuilding the data file basically just is Intuit's way. So I say verifying the data is like combing your hair, right? And then you see a snag in your database. And when you rebuild the data, it is taking that comb and maybe spraying a little detangler in there and, working out the kinks. All right, so it gave me a little error there, but now that the rebuild has completed, I'm going to go ahead and try this again. Preferences, Items and Inventory, enable an enhanced inventory and say continue. And then OK. Okay, so this time it went through just fine. It's saying where do you want to save your backup? And it backs up your data, right, which is always good. It's Intuit looking out. QuickBooks looking out for you. And then you can see here what it's doing now is it's separating out those transactions. So if you have a lot of history, it has to go through every single bill that you have and separate it from a bill to an item receipt and a bill. Okay, So if you have a lot of history, this can take a long time. Obviously, this is a sample file, not a ton of history. So once it's completed, right, it tells us there are 42 existing purchase orders, 1 updated existing item receipt, 196 existing bills, created 117 item receipts from existing bills, and then it tells us what the variances are here. Okay. So inventory offset account. So what this is basically saying is that there were some item receipts in the system, and previously, before you turned on enhanced inventory, your item receipts would hit your accounts payable account. Now, because we have enhanced inventory turned on, your item receipts are going to hit your inventory offset account, right? So it's just saying it changed, it moved as a debit to accounts payable, so you have less in accounts payable, but it credited this other account, other current liability account for $34.59.20. So that's the net result of making this change. Now, the other way to know that if you have enhanced inventory turned on is when you pull up your home screen here. You can see it goes from purchase order to item receipt. You don't have receive items with bill, without bill anymore, because you only have an item receipt, and then you can have a bill as a separate transaction. So that's turning on enhanced inventory.